I grew up in the foster care system.
Yeah.
So I was in and out of there. I was with my dad at one point between it. Started out with my mom. I did about 10 years in it. I met a brother when I found my family. He's no longer living, my brother Asa, and I met him later in life.
That's sad. What's his name?
His name was Richard Asa. It's been like 8 years since he passed, but that's one reason I'm really in my recovery too. And when my brother died, it was very dramatic. I was knee deep in an addiction. He died. I was staying pretty much at crack houses, living under bridges. And I was ate up with bug bites, man. It was crazy. And I went to Samaritan, and they're like, bro, you're going to have to wait a month. And I started crying. I was like, bro, I do not want to live this life right now.
To get in.
I relapsed, and I have nothing. Like, I got my jobs, but I'm homeless on the streets of Nashville. And the meth addiction got so bad that, like, literally, I had long hair. I used to not wear shoes. For 4 years, I was on methamphetamines out there. It was dramatic. It was dramatic in the sense of what I seen with it. I can't stop thinking about my dead brother. I can't stop thinking about how I've lured these women off in my life. I can't do any of this stuff on my own. I can't stop. I went to Allen House, and I did really well, man. It really changed my life. I had a friend in jail that saved my life, and I can say this guy named JR. He said, you going to keep doing drugs? He said, you can go to pen. He said, they're going to love you because you draw. You're going to tattoo. He's going to get all the drugs you want, my man. He said, you keep doing what you're doing. You'll be one of them.
I think one of the biggest things for me in my recovery is understanding that the first year I thought that I was like different.
Yeah.
Boom. And I was different with my spiritual. I had found God like in my life. But the thing is like the longer I've stayed sober, the longer that I've realized that like I'm still the same person.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be? Brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous. Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Marianne Williamson.
Welcome to Powerful Beyond Measure, a podcast about radical transformation, gritty stories, and the undeniable power of second chances. I'm your host, Matt Culp, a man in long-term recovery who believes in the power of grace, grit, and growth. Each week, we sit down with real people who've overcome real struggles, from addiction to adversity, and found purpose on the other side. No fluff, no filters, just truth, healing, and hope. Because the truth is, you are powerful beyond measure, and it is time that you knew it. You put the card in your hand.
All right, cool. I gotta tell you, like, charades?
With your mouth. No charades, just like mouth it. I won't be able to hear you.
All right, start for the first word in the black.
I'll tell you when to go. Any of them, yellow or black. Okay. Go. Say it again. Bright. Go to the next one.
I can't say it out loud, right?
Go to the next one. Cereal? I don't know.
Bro,
Try again. Over enunciate.
All right. That's a good one.
Now?
Get.
Nah.
You want me to say it out loud or no? All right.
I can get one. I know I can get one.
That's. There you go. Yeah, am I supposed to say it out loud or what?
Yeah. Were you saying it out loud?
No, I was just saying it quietly.
You can say it out loud because it'll help you like.
All right.
It'll help you like say it. You know?
All right,
'Cause
cool.
when you're mouthing it versus saying it, like,
Do you want me to do it?
yeah,
What I do, hit the button every time or what?
just one time you'll hear it. It'll count down.
Hit the button.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Embarrassing.
Embarrassing?
Yeah. Submissive.
Breastfeeding?
Submissive.
I don't know.
Submissive.
Optimistic?
No. Sloppy.
Topic?
Sloppy.
Oh, stop it.
No.
What?
Sloppy.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. There, one.
Crap.
Crap?
Yep.
Crap.
Glow in the dark.
Clover bottom?
Glow in the dark.
Water the dog?
Googly.
Kooky?
Googly.
Spooky?
Hairy. Hairy.
Hairy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Foul mouthed.
Foul mouth?
Cheesy. Cheesy.
Cheese?
E.
Cheeky?
Cheesy.
Cheesy? Yeah.
Never ending.
Never ending?
Yeah. Possessed. Possessed.
Postmates?
Fluffy.
Fluffy? Or
Milky.
milky? Yeah, fine.
Raging.
There you go.
You got a lot.
I can read a lot of math.
Really? I think I'm good at this part.
What's that for?
The mouthing the part.
Yeah, I wasn't, because I was like,
You got milky, you got fluffy, you got never ending? You got never ending?
I think so.
Cheesy, hairy, crap, sloppy. You got a lot. You got like 8.
For real? Is that pretty good?
Pretty good. I've got like 10 before
Oh, for real?
with somebody.
You want me to do it again? All right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ragging. Ragging.
Rod.
Ragging.
Rite Aid?
Ragging. Rag.
No.
All right. Huge. Huge.
Huge.
There you go. Unemployed.
Unemployed.
There you go. Spiritual.
Sports.
Spiritual.
Spiritual.
There you go. Questionable.
Questionable.
There you go. Imaginary.
Malachi.
Imaginary.
Malnutritioned. I don't know.
Soaking.
Joking.
Soaking.
Choking.
Soaking. Soaking. There you go. I can't even read that word.
Soaking, huh?
Happy.
Habit.
Happy. Happy.
Abbott.
Happy.
Habit.
Happy.
Happening.
Happy.
10 seconds.
Pregnant.
Break.
Pregnant. Pregnant.
Breaking.
Pregnant. That's weird. Dark.
Dark.
Yeah. There was pregnant and it was pregnant and happy. Yeah, you got happy. I can't read the other one. I can't find it.
I got happy.
Huh?
I didn't get happy.
You didn't get happy?
No.
Run the back. I put them on the back. What did you get? I kept flipping them too. Yeah. I don't know about deep throating. Some of them I couldn't read.
All right, one more time.
There we go.
Yep.
All right. Put the button on.
Spicy.
Spatula?
Spicy.
Spanking?
Spicy.
Backing?
Pathetic.
Pathetic?
Bendy.
Being?
Bendy.
Peeing?
Surprising.
Spicy.
Alcoholic.
Alcoholic. We know I got that one.
Tasty.
Tasty.
Yeah. Flexible.
Flatulent.
Unfortunate.
Fortunate.
Unfortunate. Unfortunate.
Unfortunate.
Aggressive.
Corrected.
Disturbing.
Stupid.
Heavy.
Envy.
Heavy.
Heavy.
Yeah. Tattooed.
Standard.
Tattooed.
Situation.
Infested.
Flatulent.
Beefy.
Beefy. Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
Look at them. Beefy. I'll be on them words.
Let's see what you got. You didn't get spicy. You got pathetic.
Huh?
You got bendy. No, you didn't get bendy.
Bendy.
You got surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Alcoholic. Tasty.
Maybe.
You got unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get aggressive.
Mm.
You didn't get tattooed.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But you got beefy.
That's weird. There was a guard in the jail we used to call Beefy. He's not a friend.
All right, so our guest today is Paul Ellithorpe,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this is episode 5. So what we do here is we usually figure out like where you're from, kind of go from there, and then go into your story, like where you grew up, and then after that, usually I like to vibe out, like just talk about recovery or like talk about your life, or I'll have questions and stuff.
All right, so my name's Paul Ellithorpe. I'm Paul Christian Ellithorpe. Grandfather's deceased. He was Paul Cyrus. Kind of from like Middle Tennessee area. I grew up in the foster care system.
Yeah.
So I was in and out of there. I was with my dad at one point between it. Started out with my mom. I did about 10 years in it. Then I think I did a couple more, 3 or 4 during my teenage years. So I went all over the state, kind of back and forth. A couple times almost got adopted. Just kind of never went through.
What's up with your real parents? Why were you in this system?
I lived with my mom for a while when I was younger, and it's kind of like maybe having behaviors maybe, or her lifestyle at that time wasn't the best, and I went to foster care, and I ended up lived with quite a few people. I started out with a preacher. I lived with him a couple of times, and then I went up for adoption one time, and my dad came into the picture, and I lived with my dad for a couple of years, and as the book, it didn't work out. And then I went to start going to like group homes, which would be like kind of like recovery for teenagers that have problems.
Yeah.
And so I really didn't have any problems, but I had to grow up in that environment, and I did that until I was about 18. I found my family again, and I met a brother when I found my family. He's no longer living, my brother Asa, and I met him later in life.
That's sad. What's his name?
Asa. His name was Richard. Everybody called him AE, but his name was Richard Asa. Yeah, so like the last week was been like 8 years since he passed, but that's one reason I'm really in my recovery too. He would have loved to do what I do with the guys at Richardson and the Threshold, being a house manager, chairing meetings. So, and I mean, that's a lot of it from where I've been at. Or we could get more into my recovery, or we keep going about past.
Kind of like what happened after 18?
After 18, I moved back in with one foster family, and it wasn't the best idea. I was going to get adopted actually here in Murfreesboro, and it just didn't work out. It wasn't the best thing for me. I moved in with a foster family, and the craziest thing, I went to Department of Children's Services, and I was like, I'm not making it out here. I'm going to be homeless. I can't live with these people. And I walked in there, and I signed a board to try to get into a transitional living they do at 18. And my aunt had walked in. And I guess my mom and my brother and the family were all into it. And she looked at the board, and she said, well, Paul Ellithorpe's here. And they said, yeah, Paul Ellithorpe's here. And she said, Paul Ellithorpe's like a 70-year-old man. No, Paul Ellithorpe's sitting right there. And she looked, and she was like, Paul? And I was like, maybe. Like, I was like, I don't know. Are you here to take me somewhere? You have a small child and you kind of look familiar. And they're like, oh my God, you've been missing. And I was like, what do you mean? You know, I was like, yeah, been in the system. She's like, no, we've been looking for you for a long time. But when you give up your parental rights, it does a whole defer, you know. So
It does what?
it kind of defers. So like if a
Like
parent,
you can't find it?
they could look, but with the system, they didn't want it in play. So like my mom tried to visit me one time and the foster parent was like, you can't see him. Your rights have been terminated.
Yeah.
So the family was looking and people actually did come and look, but it was crazy because I was there with nothing and there was my family. Like my brother walked in. My mom was, of course, like, why is Paul here? I'm like, he's just sitting here trying to figure out where he's going to go. I ended up going back to the foster family. And then as life went on, it was the craziest thing. Like I started meeting the family, trying to get back in tune with everybody. And I ended up staying with my mom. And it was crazy because I didn't know her, you know. I seen her one time on a bus. I was on a school bus and she drove by in a Mack big old truck. I was like, I think that might be my mom. And dude's on the school bus and he's like, not your stepmom's your mom. I'm like, I don't know, either way. You know, it's Mount Juliet. So I ended up moving in with her, lived with her for a while. And of course, you know, if you're not going to therapy, things don't work out sometimes for the best. But I get to meet my brother. And before he passed, I mean, he was born premature. We had a lot of time together for 8 years, you know. He was a pretty cool dude.
What's his last name?
Ellithorpe.
Oh.
Yeah, so we had Ellithorpes. We just don't.
I know another Asa. I only know one. I know this other dude named Asa. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, it's a unique name.
It's a unique name. Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're in the Middle East, I think.
ASA?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, ASA. And so I ended up living with him, living with her. Of course, you know, brothers are brothers. And I went on to live with a couple other people. I met a man it was my grandfather's best friend. This guy's name was Howard Kennedy. I met him. He was a mentor to me. He was covered in tattoos. The first time I got one, he's like, stop getting tattoos. And he had them from all over the world. And we got to be really close. I mean, he was an 80-year-old man and me in my 20s. And he really showed me a lot of my life that I use today. And it was crazy working a program. It's like before he died, I got his inventory, what we call an inventory. And I knew everything about him.
Like he gave it to you or you found it?
No, like me and him talked about his life.
Oh, okay.
And then when I went to the rooms, I was like, this man gave me his, you know, when I started doing the program and started sponsoring and learning from a sponsor, and I had a great sponsor in the beginning, you know, when I first actually got the sponsor to do the 12.
Yeah.
I've had quite a few sponsors, and some of them are like, my brother passed, he was like, don't ever get a sponsor again, bro. This dude was horrible. And then I actually came here to Murfreesboro and got a sponsor. And when the man explained it to me, the man's got 18 years. He said, you know, we're doing all this inventory stuff. And he's like, I was like, this guy that I knew 10 to 15 years ago did his inventory with me. And I was amazed, you know, because I always remember that, you know, this guy was covered in tattoos and all over the world. And he had told me so much about life and religion and stuff. And he was not I wouldn't say he was a very religious man, but he was like, you know, this is the world. And these are the things I can teach you. And that's why I like when I sponsor people, I really feel in depth to sponsor somebody. Because a guy that was been crazy, you know, he always told me, he said, Paul, if you have a quarter in your pocket, he was like before the war or something, he's like, I went to New York City. He said, I had 1 quarter in my pocket and I made it. He was like, you have a quarter in your pocket, you can make it. Nowadays, you know, a quarter probably, you know, $16. We need $16 to make it. Like old man Kennedy would always come and say, oh man, you know.
Where'd you meet him?
My grandfather and me went to go lay some bricks at his house. And we pulled up to his house and it was all bushy and stuff. And I was like, dude, I don't know about this. And people running up there on the property and running off. And that's good Howard. He's a pretty good dude. And we started talking and then we started getting cup of coffee at McDonald's. And my granddaddy was up there working and I started working with the man. and it really transformed my life. My neighbors were down the street, or my kin folks were down the street. The aunt and uncle were down the street, and we really built a relationship, and it was great. At first, I was like, dude's a giant. Like, he's 6'4" or something, and no balance. So, it was a great experience. When he passed, my uncle had passed, I was living with. So that was very dramatic. The two people that were my father figures both died. Because my father, I try to make contact with my father, but sometimes things just don't bend out.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of people in business, though, that's met my father. I met a director of operations, like, your father trained me at Waffle House. I met another dude.
He worked at Waffle House?
He still does.
Oh, he still does?
Yeah, he's a very influential person there. Frankly.
It's raining, isn't it? It starts to rain.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah, my stepmom, she worked there for like 15 years.
Yeah.
In West Memphis area.
All right.
In Arkansas.
Yeah, so.
Certain type of people work at Waffle House.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. They're definitely different.
I've applied at Waffle House 8 times, and I have never been hired.
And you on threshold. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I applied at McDonald's in Memphis, overqualified. I didn't get the job.
Dude, I get that.
Applied at Kroger, same thing.
Yeah, I get that a lot around here. Like, you're too overqualified. I'm like, I just want to make money. Like, like, no, you might take my job or my boss's job. Like,
yeah, I couldn't believe I really wanted to work at Waffle House because I like enjoy the vibe, the yelling, the orders, the jovial, like it's all like happening in front of you. I enjoyed it. Like I was like, I want to work here.
Yeah, I loved working in gas stations like that, man.
The gas stations could be like that because you meet customers and then like you have customers that are coming in all the time. And,
it's like hardcore pawn, but at a gas station.
Hardcore pawn.
Like, hardcore pawn. You're like,
yeah.
Hey, can I get that for you? Let me get them cigarettes for you.
My first real job, I had jobs before this, but my first real job, I worked at my dad's tow lot. I was the dispatcher, but I released the cars, for people that are coming to get their car. When the first building we ever had on Union Avenue in Memphis, it had like a foyer, like a little room that the customer would walk into, and then we had it was like triple studded wall with a little window, and you put people in that room, dude, and like they lose their mind.
Oh yeah,
because it's something about that wall. Because now we have their services is like you can walk into their lobby and you're with the people, you know, and then it's like calmer. But when you put people in that box, dude, they would lose their mind, dude.
Yeah, you put me in a room here by myself. I'm like, what's going on, man? You know what I mean? I've been here once before. I think it was down there in Donaldson Pike. Ellithorpe, they put me back in the room, man. It's like, yeah.
It's like putting I realized like after doing that for a long time, it was like putting like a dog on a leash. Like if you put a dog on a leash, he gets aggressive. He tries to get off the leash. He barks. But if you let him go, he just runs around,
Yeah. Like a chicken in a cage.
Chicken in a cage, yeah.
Chicken in a cage, man. You get a bunch of chickens and you let one out and it just wanders around,
Yeah. All right, so that guy, Kennedy?
Yeah, we're back to Kennedy.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yeah, so me and Howard had a great relationship. Later in life, he did pass. It was dramatic. It was a lot for me because I really didn't have a father figure. That dude really stepped in, and it was a lot for me. Progression past that. 2 years later, my brother dies, and so like, I used to be working in the garden. My brother pulled up, and he had a wife, say thing or whatever. He had got with an older lady, my brother did. She had quite a bit of money. They were back and forth. Like one time he went to one of those big fancy things I see on the commercial, and he called me and he's like, bro, I'm over here at the Belmont or something over there you always see in Virginia or something. I'm losing my mind. Poor dude. We'll say poor, my brother always made money, but he came from the trailer park,
Yeah.
Where I grew up in foster care. So when I came, before I got this country accent, because dipping in the mullet, my accent was different. I came back to the family, like Paul speaks different. Like, yeah, I grew around all these people from California that immigrated over here and other people. So that happened, and when my brother died, it was very dramatic. It was I was knee deep in an addiction. He died. The laws in Lebanon weren't like they are now. Oh, it's just accidental overdose. I was like, it's $20 or whatever happened. And, they would never give a definitive answer. Now it's, zero tolerance on that. And a guy named Tommy at the Outback, the reason Lebanon's really hard about that, because I worked with a guy at Tommy at Outback, and he got murdered over $20 or something over some heroin. And so when my brother died, like I went knee deep. Like I was already knee deep in an addiction. I was trying to fight it. And a girl came up, said I had her baby, and that kid wasn't mine. It definitely didn't look like me. But my mindset was like, yeah, this kid's mine. I want to do the most with this kid. You know what I'm saying?
You wanted it.
I wanted it because my brother was gone. And I mean, I went to jail over that, and it was a lot.
You went to jail over what specifically?
Me and the girl got into it. We ended up moving to a hotel room. I was knee deep in cocaine addiction. It was a lot of bad stuff going at that time.
Yeah.
Her mental state wasn't the best. She propaganda. I might have another kid out there, but right now recovery is first. And how that goes. You got 20 of them. They don't name it Star. You're halfway all right, but problem is, so that might be or something. But I always deal with my stuff head up, and when I had that happen with her, I had a job where I was working at a Sonic, and I ended up catching a charge, walked off with a deposit after she left. And I was like,
you think it was your brother?
With the cocaine and the use of it, yes. There was a lot of use of cocaine. Plus, I was so worried about her and that kid thinking it was mine. And then when my brother died, it was a lot. I had really just, you break down when somebody that great's in your life. That's why I tell a lot of my sponsees and people at meetings. I said before my brother died, I was very, I wouldn't say egocentrical, but I was like, this on Paul's time. This is what Paul does. This is Paul time. And I hung out with girls and all that, on the dating sites and all that. Ain't no Mac Daddy. But back in the day, it was like, Paul was pretty influential. He'd get around, Couldn't drive no car, but he'd get around. He'd have a car, but he never drove it. Same effect we're working right now, so, trying to get my back right. But he was a really good dude. So when he died, I was just like, Kennedy's gone, Asa's gone. It's like, man, uncles are gone. And it shocked me, It put me to the core. It was not the right time to have a kid in my life with her and all that.
It wasn't your kid, though, right?
It wasn't my kid.
Yeah.
Found out dude had like 10 kids.
Really?
And dude was in the trailer park whenever I was there with a girl. Because I had a guy that was driving me. I always kept somebody driving me. They were always living with me. I mean, when it is, when you're dealing stuff and doing stuff, you always got the little wingman. It's like, I'm going to take the big dog around, drive him around, and I get everything, I work with Paul, and Paul has his other business. He's running around doing this, drugging or whatever he's doing. And so when that progressed, like, it was crazy because I was working at a Sonic. I was managing the Sonic. I robbed in front of a police station, walked out with the deposit. The other manager was like, I seen her. She was like 45 seconds from pulling in, or a minute down the road. And I robbed it. And I was like, bro, I got to get some help. I need to go to rehab. And I was staying pretty much at crack houses, living under bridges. And I was ate up with bug bites, man. It was crazy. And like, just ate up with them. And I went to Samaritan, and they're like, bro, you're going to have to wait a month. And I started crying. I was like, bro, I do not want to live this life right now.
To get in.
And they called back, and they were like, hey, will you go to the room at the inn, and we can let you sit at the room at the inn in Nashville? And I was like, I'm about to detox off alcohol and this dope addiction and all that. And I'm like, I'm not used to being homeless like this. I'm coming from Mount Juliet, where I'm the only homeless individual, and I'm ducking and diving. And, it's hard on everybody to see it. But, I went to the room at the end, and so I was there, and I got to Samaritan, man, and I was doing really good. And I was working downtown Nashville, and I was working 2 jobs. I was filmed on Travel Channel one time, and somebody had some ecstasy, and I relapsed. So I got out, I was in rehab for like 50 days, 45, 50 days. I relapsed and I had nothing. Like, I got my jobs, but I'm homeless on the streets of Nashville. And that was like 2017 when Trump was touching cities. They said every city that Trump would touch would told to gold. And they're like, Trump's in Nashville. And I was like, the homeless people were like, yeah, anytime Trump comes to Nashville, it grows. And I was like, that's not even feasible. Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, if he says something, it grows. And I was like, I don't know how feasible that is or whatever. But in 2017, there was more people getting bused in Nashville. We're getting homeless people from all over the country getting bused.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you don't live in our city, we'll give you a free ticket to Nashville. So we're seeing like all these massive amounts of teenagers and children, and it was crazy. And I'm out there, and I'm like, I've never been homeless like this. Like, I was sleeping under the Jefferson Bridge, and I had found a mattress or maybe like a pallet, and I was sleeping under there. And it's like the worst bridge in Nashville. The cops were like, bro, there's more domestics, killings, the whole rapings, and all that stuff happens here, bro. He's like, you're in a bad spot. I'm like, Department DHS is right there. They're like, it's right there for a reason, Paul. Like, man, you're there. And so I'm down there, and I'm like, oh, man, like, I got my stuff in the storage. I used a little bit of money, and I had like some money. I had like $10, man, maybe. And I went to like a Church's Chicken, and I couldn't even afford a drink. And ended up a 5-star restaurant called me and was like, hey, bro, if you can flip this steak and this skillet, you'll get this job. And I was like, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And it was like, I'll give you some money to do this, work it. Of course, I'm burning bridges with jobs left and right. And it's Nashville, so there's controversies everywhere with restaurants and stuff. And I worked all down there, man. And I was down there in Nashville. I mean, through all of it, walking down the streets, we homeless people. It was crazy because it'd be like, dude was like, I bet I can bet. He's like, I'll bet you $20. It would be the funniest thing too. They'd be like, tell a tourist, like, I bet $20 we make this whole crowd, 100,000 people go where we want to go. Like, all right. And two of us start waving, one wave down here, and the crowd would move. And he'd be like, $20, you got the whole crowd to move your way. Like, yeah, they all going down that way. You want to get through? We can get you through. And I was down there, and I'd work these jobs and lose them. And I started, like, just people would come up to me, and they'd be like, hey, man, can you take me to McDonald's? And sorry, my phone's going crazy. That's all right. Probably somebody over there. I got sponsees everywhere. Well, yeah, that's how it goes. But I started walking people around, man. They're like, hey, man, you get me to McDonald's? I ain't got no Uber, but can you get me there safely? Or, they're drunk or something. I'm like, yeah, bro, just, you give me $5 or buy me something to eat. I'll get you down there. And that's what I was doing. And I was doing that, and I was eating. I would go out to Mission to eat, room at the end if I got a ticket. And there was this nice little place, where all the outskirt homeless people lived. That lived in their tents. And I forget, it was out there out southeast, out off 8th. And I'd walk down there and take a shower, get some food, and I'd go sleep on the streets. And then sometimes I'd eat at the Mission. And I remember a guy was from Memphis, and he was sitting there and was in the Mission. He said, man, I don't know how you do it. He said, that's some scary stuff out there, bro. He said, I'd rather take it here than be out there. And I said, man, this is like me going out to eat, bro. I come here to the Mission to eat, bro. I said, I come here and kick it with you every Thursday or whatever. I don't ever seen that gentleman again, but he was pretty cool. I'm sitting there and eat and talk to him and shoot the breeze just like anybody else would. And so then I started sitting there, and I was like, it's really rough on me. I need some backup. I need somebody that can help me. I met a man named Steve, and he came from up north. He walked down here because he said it was like, he was Googling one day on his phone in Michigan, and it said the best place to live, be homeless, Nashville. So me and him lived together, and we ended up getting booted out under the bridge and going back and forth between the bridge and all that. Found a little spot, and it's crazy. Like one time we opened my tent, and this lady had a bunch of kids out there, and I'm like, how are there children out here? And the cops are like, if it ain't 45 degrees, they can be out here on the street, man. This is a major city. I'm like, this ain't like Wilson County. They would be all over this. Out here they ain't. You know what I'm saying?
There's just not enough space.
There's no space, and the laws are in their favor. And so I was out there, and man, I kept getting more just like involved in just whatever it was I was becoming. And so they started calling me Star. Well, there's like three of us out there with stars on our face. And like, hey man, I know you're that dude with the stars on the face. Da, da, da. I was like, that's the other dude. There's like three of us out here. You talking about the dude with long hair and red hair? They're like this. These are like these. And I was sitting out there, and then next thing you know, they started calling me Star Child, and I never put together that, you know, there was a dude who was in a ACDC named Star Child. I was like, oh, that was their funny joke. I got that, you know, 5 years later. So they started calling me that, and I was really peaceful out there. Honestly, I wasn't peaceful. I was in a lot of pain. I was living out there. Dude had left.
There is a certain amount of like being homeless. Like, there's a certain amount of like you have no attachments, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nobody on you. You don't have bills. And you get there is like a certain amount of peace to it. It's painful.
Yeah.
I'm traumatized from it, but there is a peace to it.
Yeah, and I mean, the shower up people were trying to help me. I mean, people were trying their best to get me out of the situation. I remember seeing a man under a bridge one time, and I mean, he just looked at me. He was like, I thought we could do something like you're doing. He just looked at me and was like, man. I was like, bro, this ain't my time. Like, he looked like he knew, you know, he was like, I want to help this dude. And I just felt like God was telling me, like, this dude want to do something. I was like, this ain't my time right now. And I bumped into a lot of people, and eventually it got so bad out there. It was like I was by myself. And I had a cat out there that we had, and it was wild. And I was like, man, I got to go. And I went to go donate plasma on the west side. That's when the west side had the plasma bank. And they're like, hey, man, play Plinko? If you drop this Plinko ball, we'll give you $75 instead of the $35. I dropped the ball. And I had $75. And I said, man, I don't want to go take my laundry out 8th. I'm going to go to Lebanon and do my laundry. And the homeless people were like, don't go to Lebanon, Paul. Like, don't do it. They're killing people in the jail. The homeless people that come from Lebanon to come back to Nashville are all twerked out. It's rough. It's rough on you. You got a soul. You know, they're like, you give the person your food out your bag, you know, if you could, when you're not in your drug addiction, you know. And, you know, so I had a lot of humility, which, you know, was like my 7th step, like humility. You ain't supposed to have a favorite step, but, you know, I love to stay humble. Yeah. My dudes are like, don't skip steps, you know, like, don't skip steps. I'm like, nah, if you want life manageable, you need to get humble, my dog, right now. Them knees need to be there. So I went to Lebanon, and, I mean, I had been in Nashville. I lost the job, the girl, the kids, the family, everything. I was in Nashville. I went back to Lebanon to do my laundry. I went to my mom's and grandma's and just showed up there with my laundry. And they were like, my grandma's like, you're dying, man. You got to come here. And I went back to Nashville 2 weeks later, and the dude, this guy they used to call the preacher or whatever, and he was like, man, you're not going to make it out there, bro. He's like, bro, I'm sorry, bro. He's like, please, you know, make a change. Go down to the program at the mission. Go to the House of Pain, they used to call it. It's like, do something different. This ain't good, bro. And I was like, man, families out there, I'm tired of this, man. If I just had a month to get my life together, or 2 months on the couch, I could make it. And I was doing really good. And I got a call one time, and they say, you know, I'm doing cocaine. And next thing you know, I'm doing methamphetamines, and the warrant for the Sonic comes out. They caught me in my grandma's front yard with some girl in the front yard about 3:50 in the afternoon. And I'm like, yeah, I did it. I was like, I know why I'm getting arrested. And they were like, and it took them a while to calm me down. And I went to jail, and I sat there for 60 days. And I didn't come out of the hole for a month or a month and a half. I didn't want to come out the hole. I was like, you know what? I'm in jail. This is different. I'm in a Wilson County jail, which I've been there plenty of times. Like an overnight celebrity in there. People start beating on the cell when I walk in. You know, like, oh, this Star Child. You remember that? And all this. And I went to jail, and I got out, and I was out for about a month. I ran into an ex I met on Plenty of Fish. And they're like head over heels for each other. I'm over here ripping her door off. running down the street. I ripped the door off about 3 times. I'm like, I don't know how you keep ripping off your screen door. Dude was like, he in love with you. He keep ripping off your screen door and he keep running. Dude, Paul love you, you know what I'm saying? And it didn't work out, you know, when she was messing with that kratom or whatever, and I was just not being me, you know, just being egotistical. Not egotistical in the right way, egotistical, like, I'm going to start being back to being what Paul is, you know what I'm saying? Look out for Paul type shit, which I don't try to do that anymore, you know. That's why I'm glad to be a house manager, because I look out for people and have sponsees. And so, her kids love me and everything. I mean, it was crazy. She lived right down the street from Jelly Roll's ex-baby mama. I mean, she's in the same project as that. And so that didn't work out. And so I was like at a gas station one time, and the girl was on methamphetamines. And I was like, Nashville, it's hard to find. She's like, not out here. I was like, you know what? You know, she's like, give me a day or two. My guy will pull up and we'll talk. And I said, well, all right. And so dude ran me, you know who I was, ran all that stuff, you know, before the homelessness. I had a pretty good reputation about stuff. One, like I knew a lot of bad people, just people knew I was a solid dude. And instead of getting I went to buy drugs, instead of getting a little bit, they gave me a lot. They gave me a lot more than what I needed.
Yeah.
They gave me, I was thinking I was getting a half ounce, and I ended up getting half a pound. And I lost it, you know what I'm saying? Like, that much was way too much. And I'd already been doing designer drugs before I got homeless. And so, you know, between that and all this JWK7 stuff and all that had
JWK7.
and like all that fake stuff, the fake weeds, the fake pills and all that stuff, the Molly and all that, I was all into that. And not so much the Molly, but all the
Like the research chemical stuff?
yeah, the kind of like what they were selling at the gas stations.
Yeah.
Am I good?
You're perfect, yeah.
That's cool. I feel like my star's touching it. That's good. So between all of that, like, yeah, and I got all that weight, like I was, you know, losing it. I was losing it.
Mentally, or like you were losing?
I lost it mentally. Everything hit me. I'm in that town, and it was rough. You know, that was the town my brother died in, and I wasn't equipped for what I had been through in Nashville to go to that. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot different there. You know, the homeless were different. The town was more country. It wasn't Nashville where you were like, hey, man, I'm just running around picking up cigarettes. That's what I do today. Out there, it's like people are honking and yelling because you're different. You know what I'm saying? You're different. And I went there to Lebanon. I had a nice backpack full of nice clothes from Nashville. And I lost my clothes there so many times, between my family trying to keep them from me losing them or whatever that was about, to losing them in general. And it got bad, and the meth addiction got so bad that, like, literally I had long hair. I used to not wear shoes. For 4 years I was on methamphetamines out there. It was dramatic. It was dramatic in the sense of what I seen with it. It was dramatic in the sense of what I went through with it. Like, my feet, I had MRSA in my legs so bad that they fused together. And I walked from Lebanon to Hermitage all the time. I would walk, freezing cold, the rain. I remember laying in a field one time, and it rained. I just got some Dial soap. I was fully clothed and washed myself in Dial soap, let the rain wash off of me. I put my head down and just watched the rain and wait until the sun dried up, and 2 or 3 days later it got up. And then the ambulances kept coming. The hospitals kept getting me. People kept calling. I started getting petty charges. I was losing it, like sleeping in front of the jail, paranoid, or thinking this was happening and that was happening. And I ended up going to rehab one time. Between the first rehab, I went to another one at Buffalo Valley. It was in Lewisburg. They were transitioning. And they ended up putting me in a veteran's house. And I was like, I'm not a veteran. They're like, yeah, until we can graduate you, you'll graduate with this program. I met a really good dude named Smitty there. I lost contact with him. Lost contact with a lot of people, too, from the first rehab. They were really great people. And so the second time I got out of rehab, I went back to using. Like, oh, yeah, I can do a little cocaine. I've been in rehab this time. I know it, because because the meth, it took my mindset. It takes your mindset so dramatically that you think in one context this is you, but you're like, you're in the other fourth wall of that, you know. This is the normal walls. Meth is right there. So, you know, in the context of like, it's just pushing your brain waves. And it took me, and I couldn't make, you know, recollection of who I am right now. Like, and so I ended up getting high again, throwing it all back away again. And it was rough on me and my brother because my little brother's autistic and stuff like that. And he was dealing with ASA's death just as much as I was. He grew up with ASA, you know. And so we were both going through it. And I was ended up staying with a relative, and it didn't work out. And one night I was working at an Arby's, and I had the choice to go back to work at that Arby's or go to rehab again. And I'd already caught another charge. And it was in a small town of Carthage. And when I caught it in Carthage, people say it was a sting. I found a pack, and of course they caught me with a pack as soon as I did it. You know, they caught me and they took me to jail and all that. You know, of course, you know, I'm ODing in the back of the cop car, and he's like, "Oh, no, you're not ODing." I'm like, "Yeah, because it's your drugs, bro. That's why I'm not ODing. I know. You know I'm not ODing, you know." And so I had that probation, and I was like, man, I can go work at this Arby's, sleep on the street, go to Carthage 2 times a week or 2 times a month, or I can go to the hospital for the freaking last time. And the police pulled up, and I'm like picking up cigarette butts. I'm like, y'all probably, I was like, you know, they're like, "What are you doing, Paul?" And I'm like, "You don't know me, man. I'm just catting around, picking up cigarette butts, you know, trying to, you know." You remember that time I almost jumped in the rock quarry? They're like, "Remember that time they just tased you over there and you pooped your pants?" I'm like, yeah, I remember that time too. Like, you know, I was like, I had no morals. Like,
Why were you picking up cigarette butts?
I was just picking them up that day, and I was sitting right across from this, like,
Were you using them?
to smoke.
Yeah.
And then I was like picking them up, and I said, "Man, you got a light?" And they're like, "Not for you, Paul." I was like, how many times is not for me this time? You know, I was like, when I'm getting arrested, y'all light a cigarette any time, you know, or I'm wild and y'all want to put one on me, you know. So they're like, "You can't get no cigarette." And I said, "Man, I think I'm about going to the hospital." And they said, "Well, we got a cop to come talk to you, mental health cop." I said, "Man, that one's in Mount Juliet. You don't even know who you got right now." "I know. She's in Mount Juliet." I said, well, I sat there and I said, "Man, you know, he's sitting there procrastinating." I walked in the hospital and I said, "Man, I just used, and I was doing so good, and it was just like I'm just tired and used." And I went to the hospital, and when I went to the hospital, I was just like, "Yeah, man, you're not going to see me no more." And they were like, "Are you sure, Paul? Because we've seen you sitting here acting like you're drinking a cup of coffee in your room. You know, like, Paul, get back in the room." I was in there drinking some orange juice. I'm like, "Give me orange juice. What's going on in here tonight?" They're like, "Paul, it's a hospital. This is not a hotel room." I'm like, "Well, you're the one making me stay in this room." And I did that so many times. And crazy, man. It was so many times. And the hallucinations and the stuff that I seen. And some of it I studied too, you know. I wasn't a really religious man, you know. And so I went to the hospital, and they're like, the lady was like, "I know this place in CSU in Cookville that'll take you." I said, "Last time you sent me to CSU, they sent me to their hospital." And now I pay $4,000. I pay a monthly fee of $100 now to that hospital. And I was like,
You went to New Leaf?
they sent me to CSU up there. And I was like, "I've been to that CSU like 3 times. They don't like me, bro. They don't." And she's like, "Where are you going to go to CSU?" And I'm like, at this point, all right. And I sat there with this girl in the hospital, a nurse, and I was really close to this nurse named MJ. Probably not. I mean, he really went through it. I was like, the next relapse is not on what I'm going through. It's what you went through, bro. Trust me. And this girl came up, and she was dating MJ. And I'm like, this nurse. And I'm like, I seen him at the park and stuff, you know, because I was the town idiot or town maniac, I used to say. And she said, "Paul, how's your home life, your family life?" I'm like, she said, "You and your brother keep coming up here." I said, "Man, you look familiar." And I used to have this thing where when people look familiar, I freaked out. And I was laying in bed, and she looked familiar. And I said, "Man, somebody called my job." "The hospital ain't calling your job." And I said, "Well," she came around and said, "You look familiar." She said, you went to Mount Juliet Junior High, right?" I said, "Yeah, you used to hang out with Freddie and Marquise, didn't you?" She said, yep. I said, that's why you look familiar. I said, that's why that cop I see all the time look familiar. She said, yeah, that's why you're close to these cops, because they went to school with you. It ain't just because you're seeing stuff because you're on meth. These people are familiar to you, grew up with them. And I never put it on the cop's name was Johnson. I swore, like, call Johnson, call Moose, call this one. And I knew all the cops, because, I almost fell off the interstate bridge a couple of times, people trying to save my life, and some of them just getting fed up with it. And she was like, I was like, man, that was different. I was young, wasn't I? My dad owned a gas station, worked down there in Nashville, and my little brother was small. Now he graduated college. I said, tell MJ I ain't going to be back, man. She said, I can have him come in here and talk to you. I don't even remember if the man did or not. I think he might have. I said, well, tell him I ain't coming back. I said, how bad has it been? She said, it's been good and bad. I said, like, has it influenced a lot of people? And she's like, yeah. Just like somebody had been through a lot of trauma or seen a lot of stuff. Like the lady tried to fix my feet a bunch of times when nobody else would. They'd be bloody and stuff. And I said, tell him I ain't going to come back, man. I'm going to go. And, of course, that day they should have probably thrown confetti and shot firecrackers because it was over. The epidemic was done. And so we still got time. Mm-hmm. All right. So they're like, all right, we'll see you at CSU. I got to CSU up there. This little lady was up there. She had these little crutches. She's walking around, little redheaded lady. And I said, man, I want to go to rehab. I'm on probation. And they thought I couldn't snowball them in Carthage. And I did. They're like, I don't think you'll get past us. I was like, try me. So, and I snowballed them. And she was like, well, there's this thing called New Leaf next door. And I'm like, sign me up. I got nothing else to do. I ain't even got clothes, There's somewhere else. Sign me up, bro. I got 2 extra pairs of scrubs they sent me with because they just wanted me to go. But the hospital gave me some clothes a little bit that they had because they had people donating and stuff like that. And I, because I had done halfway houses out there, and I did really good, but, it went through, I said. And I said, man, send me to rehab. She's sitting out there and walking around. She said, have you ever heard of this thing called threshold? And I was like, not really. And she's like, let me show you these pictures. And I've seen the houses, and I'm like, bro, literally I've been like laying in fields bathing and stuff, bro. Like, this is nice. This is nice, bro. This is real nice. Like, this is better than sleeping in the Porta Johns in Nashville. I'm like, there's no way I'm getting in this one. I said, just send me to rehab, and they can send me to Knoxville or leave me here in Cookeville. I'm sure I'll be all right in Cookeville with a meth addiction. I'm not talking bad about Cookeville, but,
it's out there.
It's out there, bro. It's out there bad. Like, I seen them one time, went to CSU, with one of my relapses. I seen, and this girl was standing out there, like, looking across the way, and Sean was like, get in the building, Paul. And I'm like, she might be the one to save my life. He's like, we're flushing the dope, Paul. You got to go in. I'm like, come on, bro. Come on, man. But I went to CSU, and, like, I was sitting there. And
did you go to New Leaf?
I went to New Leaf. I sat at CSU, and they got me into New Leaf. And I met this a CA, or CO, or CA, I say, named Terry, and he did a lot for me. I still keep contact with this man. He's a great man at AA. I'm not putting out his last name or nothing like that for respect issues. But I was sitting in rehab, man. And one day we're sitting there, and everybody was like, cozy and like, I'm going to make it. And I was like, and the counselor there, she was really cute. Like, the guys were just like, oh, yeah. And I was like, yeah, the ball's dropping right now. And I started getting aggressive, not aggressive, but like, I could tell that my sobriety was coming. Like, I was like, man, I can't stop using. And everybody was like, we're talking about ghost stories. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing, Paul. And I'm like, you want to hear a ghost story? And like, I went. And I was like, I can't stop, bro. I can't stop thinking about my dead brother. I can't stop thinking about how I flew these women off in my life. I can't do any of this stuff on my own. I can't stop. And dude was like, he looked, and it was like the steps right there. And, everybody was like, and then I went outside, and this dude named Charlie was there, and he's like, bro, they needed that shit. He's like, I needed that shit. He's like, you got something in you. And I was like, yeah, when I was in Nashville, I did Narcotics Anonymous, and people used to talk about how I would talk in the meetings, And it was a groundbreaking point. And after that, I went for it again. And I was like, I have an alcohol problem. I can't stop drinking Clamatos. Like, ask McMinnville. The streets are riddled. Because I kept getting stuck in McMinnville with all these meth, you know, end up in another town, you know. And I started letting it out. And I was like, man. And by the end of it, it was really groundbreaking. And they're like, yeah, man, you're going to Threshold. You made it. I talked to Dominic on the phone, and Dominic was like, I'll hold your bed, man. Are you for sure you want this? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, man, we'll get you in there. And I was like, I don't know who this dude is. Like, I ain't even seen a picture of this dude. He seems really calm and collective. And they're like, yeah, it's a really good program. They said it's a really good thing for you, for your recovery. And I was like, I did a halfway house out there in Freedom House. And I was like, in Lebanon, I did really good. And it's like, maybe go to Murfreesboro. And I was like, nah, man, I want to go farther. But Dominic said, yeah, I'm going to get you in there. And I did it. You know, I did the program. And it's crazy. They were going to send me here to Highland. And the rehab called and was like, yeah, he relapsed on Suboxone. So I got here to Highland, and Dom's like, yeah, your bed's gone. I was like, how so? And he's like, they said you relapsed on Suboxone. And I'm like, that wasn't me. That was Trey. I'm Paul. And I was like, I don't even like that stuff, bro. Like, I don't play like that. I said another word. Dom was like, well, we'll get you to another house. And I was like, all right. And I was like, all right, cool. Just send me to 1207 Allen. I was like, from this Allen, I was like, yeah, this is different, you know? And, you know, Crack comes out there and he gives me, he's like, going to work. I'll do your intake when I get back. And I'm like, cool. And everybody at the house is like, bro, I don't know if you're going to make it here, bro. You're really wound up. And the owner even doesn't know with your stars, you know. They're like, the owner's even going like, what's up with this guy? And I'm like, I'm just trying to get in life, you know. And I went to Allen House. It was groundbreaking. Like, I sat there with Crack, and he helped me through so much for the 4-step. I couldn't be grateful for it enough because, I mean, I'd honestly ask him questions, and he'd give me real answers. He's like, why are you on the 3rd step for 4 months? I'm like, bro, I only can read like 35 minutes with my sponsor once a week, 45 at tops. And then we got to go in a meeting. And then I went to Allen House, and I did really well, man. It really changed my life. I came to Murfreesboro, and I was working at the Checkers, and Craig was like, man, you know, Scott was like, yeah, the manager's tried to shoot somebody there before. And I was like, really? I picked the wrong job? He's like, yeah, won't you be a roofer? And I'm like, I got a bad back. He's like, Dom, keep telling you to be a roofer. I'm like, bro, I ain't going to make it. You know, I ain't going to do this. And I went to the dry cleaner down the street, and dude had a sign up. He said, man, help on it. And I walked in there. I said, I don't know how to press clothes. But I said, I'm a really good worker from what I know. You know, I've been through a lot. You know, I'm thinking, I used to work 5-star restaurant. I'm pressing women's blouses, flipping cheeseburgers. And I did it. And I went to work at the Dollar Tree and Arby's. And I ended up becoming a manager. Like, I was doing this management stuff, and I was like, bro, I couldn't keep pants on 2 years ago, bro. I couldn't keep pants on, bro. Like, hey, Paul got all the keys to the Dollar Trees. Like, he's fixing the books. He's doing the paperwork, you know, and working at the Arby's, and, you know. Like, I couldn't keep pants on. Like, bro, you sure? And it was crazy. I worked at the Dollar Tree, and like I had a bad experience in Lebanon. Like, I almost killed myself in Lebanon one time, and went by that Dollar Tree, and then I ended up managing Dollar Trees. And Dollar Tree was backing me. They were like, "Man, this dude's changing his life." You know, grateful that he's doing a lot. He's making money for us. You know, business is like money. You know, and it was crazy. I was in there one day, and I was working at the dry cleaner. I go to the Dollar Tree. I go to Arby's. I make my meetings. And, you know, I made meetings. I was making 8 meetings a week, and they were like, hey, bro, you're working 3 jobs, making 8 meetings. When are you going to sleep, bro?
Yeah.
Your bicycle on fire, my man. And dude got a penitentiary, and he's like, bro, your bicycle on fire, my man. Like, is your roommate, I'm going to tell you right now, my boot's stinking, your bicycle on fire, bro. Like, we're going to need to figure out some balance. And I was like, man, balance is balance. And got some balance to it. And I did that, man. And the Arby's I worked at went on to do success. The Dollar Tree, I ended up finding another company was interested. I mean, I went with that company. I went to Genghis Grill after our Dollar Tree. It was like a whole thing. I was like, I can't believe I'm in the business. Like, I don't understand this. Like, I did business downtown and I managed that Sonic, but like now I'm doing all this, big plays in my life. You know what I'm saying? Dude's like, hey man, I can get you over here for more money. Help me try to fix this business. And he didn't make it, but he's like, help me fix this business. And it was crazy because I had a roommate. We went to the avenues here in Murfreesboro, and he's like, Paul, you won't get a job out here. You don't look it. And I was like, yeah. I'm like walking past Gangers Grill. I'm like, yeah, they keep calling me, bro. Come on, man. And I ended up working that job. And I had a couple relapses since that going to that rehab the third time. I've had 2 relapses, and I've been out for a month and 2 years. And the last time I went to CSU before I came back to Threshold. And I felt like I had talked to Dominic one time about getting my taxes. And I was like, I think Dominic and Matt actually cared, like, because they know stuff. Because you're just sitting here. I ain't boosting your ego. Your ego inflated anyways, my
It's
dog.
already big. Don't worry.
Bro, your ego inflated, bro.
I don't need you.
I know you do. They put fans up you in other rooms.
I know.
Dude, it was so crazy. I know. Like, went to the men's meeting. It was so crazy. I'm like, bro, men's meeting was like, oh, Paul's back. Matt walks in. They're like, hey, Paul. I'm like, hey, man, what's up? Matt's here. Cool. But that's how it is. But, yeah, I ain't free that. But, yeah, and I've had about a month out with my relapses in the 2 years I've been staying sober. And they were dramatic, man. But I learned, the first time I got sober and I got that year clean, on top of the world, but I still had urges. I wasn't dealing with them. I was not dealing with my urges, bro. I was dealing with a lot of stuff, letting people play in my emotions and other emotions. And now I'm like, maybe the human instinct to survive, that sentence they keep telling me, maybe I need to look into that. Maybe I need to look into some of this other stuff. And I lived with a guy for a while, and then I relapsed, and I was like, man, I need to go. And they sent me, I called CSU, and Terry was like, yeah, get up here. We need to get you up here now. And I went to CSU, and when I got to CSU, I had all this stuff. I had a car, bought an electric car to try to teach myself to drive, you know what I'm saying? And I have all these things, and I'm like, man, I'm going back to Threshold. And when I got out of CSU, I called the guy that took me to CSU, and called my mama. I said, what's going on? And she's like, we're leaving for Gatlinburg early. And I'm like, why are you leaving early? She said, your grandpa died last Sunday. I said, I was sitting outside of CSU and I was looking at all these giant trees in that rehab I went to that, it didn't click. And I looked at all these giant trees and I said, damn, grandpa died. And I texted Terry, and Terry came out with a can of dip. I said, man, I'm so sorry to hear this, Paul. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm going back to Threshold. He's like, man, you just, you couldn't say much, you know what I'm saying? The man, grandpa died. I was like, man, I'm out of detox. And you want me to keep going? Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm getting out of detox. And Dom's like, yeah, you're going to 519 Clark. And I was like, 519 Clark. And so I'm in the Uber, and I told the Uber driver, I said, drop me off at McDonald's right here on Memorial. So I'm going to go get something to eat. I was calling my family back in Lebanon. I was like, man, I'm just going to go back to Lebanon. This is fucked up. Or excuse me, this is messed up. Got to delete that one. But
we don't have to delete it.
All right, cool. Okay. Oh, cool. I can cuss the whole time? Oh, no. Yeah. All right, so that's good to know, because I've been procrastinating all night. Last night I was like, I can't cuss. Everybody at Richardson got it all this morning. No. They wouldn't have it any other way. Like, Paul didn't tell me to eat shit this morning. I don't know what's up with him. Is that all right? Like, cool. No, they're just joking. Bunch of dudes. But I went to 519 Clark, man, and I was sitting there, and I'm like, my buddy's in jail. And the guy I had a friend in jail that saved my life. And I can say this guy named JR Lovell, I can say his name. He really cool with it. He set me down to jail, man, one of my times when I was about to go to Carthage. And he said, man, a month ago, you were the trustee. And not even, a month later, they're sending you to Carthage. And you done overdosed inside the jail. I was like, yeah, I overdosed in front of the damn Chomo pod. Screaming and yelling. I'm like, get me away from this one. Let me overdose over here by the women. And he's like, man, you saw this crazy shit you're doing? You're overdosing in front of this pod. You're wilding out. And he said, man, what you going to do? I said, I'm sitting there, the whole pod getting quiet because I drove for the jail. Like 3 people in that jail they could name draw, and then one of them Star Child. And he said, what you going to do, man? I said, man, You know, I'm sitting there like, I'm gonna snowball Carthage. He said, man, I'm gonna tell you something. He said, I've been in the penitentiary, Paul. I said, yeah. He said, you're a drawing motherfucker. Excuse my French. Basically, he said, you draw a lot. Everybody said, oh yeah, you draw a lot. I said, well, that's kind of weird. He said, you gonna keep doing drugs? He said, you can go to pen. He said, they're gonna love you because you draw. You gonna tattoo. He's gonna get all the drugs you want, my man, because you draw. He said, they're gonna put a gun in your hand and you're never gonna stop. He said, that's what your life's gonna be. He said, you ain't gotta be affiliated. He said, you can be tatted up all you want like this. He said, you draw. I said, I'm sitting there like, I've been to county. And he's like, no, it's different. I said, yeah, I know. I hear all this stuff. I'll be sitting on a cell listening to all these people's crimes, you know. Like, I ain't no jailhouse lawyer, but I know a lot now. The little time I've had, you know, when sitting in jail, he said, you'll be fine. Because you're going to get everything you ever wanted. I said, and it sat there and it clicked. Because the man was sitting there and he was doing like 6 or 8 more months. He said, man, I'm going to sit here. He said, keep doing what you're doing, man. It's all going to work out. You going to have a life you always wanted. And I was thinking, hallucinations were hitting me. And I said, the truth factor came in. I said, holy crap. Dudes were like sitting in the cell. And you know how people look when they're about to see a street fight? They're like, eyes are watering and stuff. They're like, dude giving him this real rundown. Like the COs couldn't scare this man straight. Like this man just scared him. He's sitting there. He said, what you going to do? Said, man, you know, I sat there and I thought about it. And I said, you know, man, you're right. I said, I am, man. He said, yeah. He was like, yo, what you gonna do, man? I said, shit. I said, then 2 years before that, a year and a half before that, there's a psych doctor named Ellithorpe up there at Donaldson. I came there, I said, Ellithorpe is the Dalai Lama. He said, I'm not the Dalai Lama. But he said, I want to tell you something too, Paul. And these 2 men changed my life. He said, see that people down the hallway down there, they can't even think straight. They're blah, 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 blah. You know, he said in a political term, you know, nice way. He said, you see them? They don't come back, Paul. He said, you keep doing what you're doing. You'll be one of them. I said, well, I said, well, I leave Friday. He said, as long as you don't get no fights. I said, shit. Like, oh, man, I got to leave Friday. I'm going to be one of these people. And he's like, you keep messing with meth. He said, meth is the divider of your brain. And he said, you've done ecstasy. You've ate holes in your brain. And I've been to all these doctors, all these psych places. He said, keep coming back. You know, I was like, damn. Then when I went to the rooms AA, they were like, keep coming back. And I was like, shit. Like, if there ain't a higher power, like, I'm freaking out. Because they're like, it's Serenity, like, keep coming back. And I'm like, just sitting there on the back bench, like, shook. Like, bruh. Like, I want to go press women's clothes.
With the guy in jail that was telling you, you draw or whatever, that's what you're going to do. And it was like a clarity moment for you where you were like, I'm either about to do this or I got to change. That's what it was?
It was like, yeah, you're going to
like
get it.
You're facing like, okay, that's where I'm headed.
Yep.
Or I'm facing.
Yeah. You can either take the path of the realistic world. You can be in a prison system and do what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But is that really what you wanted?
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Yeah. But you needed to hear it.
Yeah. He like, some of them dudes look like females. I was like, bro, that ain't what I want, bro. Got enough of that riches right now. So I came back to Threshold and I went to 519 Clark, great house and all that. And I got there and I mean, I was going through it. My buddy was in jail still and talking to me. I had Sean, Barefoot Sean was being my sponsor, we had to do something quick. I went back to the previous sponsor and the time wasn't hitting. And I was like, bro, I got to get through these steps. Like, I got to get some reprieve or I ain't going to make it. Like, I knew it. My family was worried. I think we're all kind of worried at that point that, you know, suicide runs in the family, you know. My grandfather, my dad's father had committed suicide. And so I was sitting there and I was on the back porch and I texted Dominic and I was like, man, I'm doing the steps. I got to get this off of me. I believe I texted Dominic. Like, I got to do them. I was like, I can't find a job. I can't make amends. I can't figure this out. Like, I got to get some reprieve. And Sean was like, yeah, bro, we got to do something. And I told Sean 2 or 3 months before that, I said, if I ever went back to a relapse, you'd have to sponsor me because you do it quick and you're doing it efficiently. And we were sitting inside Arby's and he was working for me and I was the manager. And It was like 4 months later, not even that, it happened. And I say, because if I ever go back, I ain't coming back, man. I'm not. I just can't fathom it. And with my grandfather saying, like, yeah, we got to get the steps. And we started doing steps, man. We just did steps. We started getting stuff off on me. We sat at Serenity doing a 4 and a 5 and a 6 for hours, like 10:30 in the morning, 7:30 at night, exhausted, doing the step work, reading,
Yeah.
doing the work, breaking stuff down, properly doing the 4-step, like properly doing it. And Sean and me did them, and we did them like they did back in the day. You do them, and then keep working and working. And the house manager I had there was like, "There's no reason that you should be sitting here, down on yourself." I was like, "Well, it seems like that's a him." He's like, "No, man, you get your steps back and get your life back now. Like, this ain't the time." Like, him and Sean both, and I was grateful for both of them. I was like, man, because they were on it, and with your support, Doms too, it was like, hey, get this stuff done. And I went to Serenity, and Sean was like, man, get up there and, I'll chair at your secretariat. We're going to do the steps, and we're going to do service work. We're going to do this like you used to do, the man that you were. He's like, what happened to you? And we did them, and it worked. And it started working, and it started working greater than I could ever imagine. And I got a little job, coming off the meth, probably one of the best ideas. Sometimes you got to work with what you got to work with, and I did it. And we did the steps. We thoroughly did steps. And a guy was sitting there at 519 Clark, and he's like, man, I need a temporary sponsor. I was like, man, last time I sponsored, I ran out on one dude, and the other two did what they wanted. And
Who was it?
it was Sam, a friend of Caden, which is one of my great sponsees now. I have a sponsee named Caden, and now he's about to be a house manager. And so it was Sam, and he's like, man, I need a sponsor, a temp sponsor. And the man's got 3 years, and I worked with the man. We worked every Sunday, it seemed like, together. And I was there to give him his 3-year chip because I was like, jail time counts, man. Any time counts. He's graduated for threshold now, working his life where he was, graduated parole. And I did the steps. He was my first sponsor that ever went through the 12 steps. And I was glad to see it, man. And the man's went on to have his life back. And I was sitting there and, like, man, I had another sponsee and it didn't work out. And I told Sam, I said, man, you look like you want this. And I was like, I've been judging people in business. Seems like you want something from this. And he said, man, yeah, because he said, I could read the book. He said, I can read this book. But he said, I don't understand it unless somebody teaches it to me. He said, that's the whole ominous presence of the AA, NA programs, or any anonymous program, is you got to have somebody walk you through this program. And so we did the program, and helping other people started to help me. And then, of course, she gave me the call and was like, hey, you want to go to Richardson to be a house manager? And Corey was leaving and all that. And Corey, and I was like, guess where I'm at? He's like, you're in jail. I'm like, not Murfreesboro. I don't swing out here like that. I know everybody out here, though, Probably pretty tough cookies. And so I'm like, no, I'm the house manager at Richardson. I got to Richardson, and it was Richardson. And I started being a house manager, and I started realizing, like, man, I started helping these people. Like you said before, if you be a house manager, it probably change your outcome. And it started becoming the outcome that was changing me, And I started going to meetings and chairing meetings. And I used to chair it on a Saturday night the first time, and I did really great with it. Now I chair Serenity on Wednesdays and Thursday nights. I'm there. I meet with sponsees, and I got a dozen, but I've got them really doing the program. Because if they don't do the program, they can't work with me. Have a different sponsor since Sean. I mean, he does his thing. I got another sponsor that does great work with me. Sponsor right now is a lot more probably passive aggressive than I am, but we work together in a program, and it's working. I got the sponsor now that I had 2 years ago. Me and him wouldn't even talk. We used to sit at Serenity on a Saturday night. For 3 months, we didn't talk to each other. He'd go in there, eat his food, I eat mine. I'd be like, what's up? And he'd be like, and walk off. I'd be like, this son of a bitch. Fuck you, dude. Yeah, I would. I'd be like, man, fuck you, Sam. I don't know you, dude. And then one day I was sitting there on my phone, and I was playing some wrestling. Sitting there, and I didn't know this dude, was into that. And I was sitting there, watching a Scott Steiner promo or something, and dude looked up like, and I was like, oh, this gets your attention. And I was like, oh, this gets your attention. I'm like, all right. And then he said something about some alternative to WWE, AEW or something. We started talking. And hell, we talked for fucking a year, man. Every Saturday we talked for a year. Oh, there you go. So every Saturday we talked for a year. And when I had the first relapse, so many people in AA came to try to check on me. The second relapse, not so many, you know. The second relapse was like, it's time, he's going to figure it out himself or whatever. And I did. I wouldn't say that the relapses were something that you should do, but in my case, the relapses were groundbreaking. They were something I can't say what I didn't go through in foster care or losing family members or losing families, or losing everything you can lose for everything you can gain, study different religions. I can meditate longer than I ever did. My sponsor says, so I can meditate for 10 minutes. So I can meditate at Richardson for 30 minutes to an hour. And the guys are like, he's in there meditating. And it was so crazy because I talked to my mom not too long ago, real relationship back with her. And she's like, I ain't heard from you about a week. And I was like, yeah, I've been into Hinduism. And she was like, you sound good. And I was like, yeah, I've just been into Hinduism. And she was like, okay, well, keep a head of Buddha by your bed and pictures of Jesus and stuff. And all these faith-based things started happening for me. And, I can always remember the times, being at the hospital and, losing my mind, and they told me once I'm in the hospital, they said, why you used to come in here for the first year or two screaming, don't strap me to a bed. And I said, yeah, I kind of got over that. And they said, what would make you get over that? And I said, I think I'm getting turned into something. And they're like, don't say plank around Paul. It's the golden word. They're like, he got over it because something worse happened to him. He's thinking something else. And then I started studying religion, and I was like, maybe these are angels, or maybe these are Hindu gods, and like stuff I seen. I started like being, man, this is real. Like there's something to spirituality, to the consciousness of everything. When I first was coming at 519 Clark, I was listening to a lot of YouTube videos. It was turning on me, stoicism and other things. And now I can sit down and be like, hey, was this a delusion or was this part of something greater than me? And I started looking into that, and praying a lot. I mean, I'm a guy that has a devil tattoo on the back of his head, And now I can go into the rooms of the AA and be like, I wouldn't knock any religion. I wouldn't knock any man's faith for no reason,
Yeah.
That's where they're at,
You also have a mullet on the back of your head.
I got a mullet.
Let's see that mullet.
I got a mullet.
Shake it.
Shake a mullet. That was creepy.
It's not creepy.
Yeah, shake the mullet.
Shake it.
Yeah, they didn't think I'd get a mullet, but I remember I got a haircut one time. I was at the hospital and like I had a fade and like a small mustache, and they're like, I went to the hospital and I used to have long hair, and they're like, you got a haircut. And I'm like, oh shit! Like all the nurses came there. Oh my god, I got a haircut. Like looking not crazy as fuck is looking, but yeah, I do got a mullet, and I mean, all of that stuff too. I never thought I'd be able to rock a mullet, like just have fun. I'm rocking a mullet, make people day, like this simple things, the things that I missed being in life,
Making memes of Slater.
Yeah, Sean helps me with that too. People do too, like making memes of Slater's funny.
Sean makes those AI videos. He's all on that stuff.
Dude, that stuff's a little too much for me.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I had AI make like a nice statement for my brother for his memorial thing, and I was like, that's about as much. And then I had him like try to make me some AI videos and stuff. I've been into a lot of religions. Like I keep Kali on my phone and Medusa on my fucking screensaver. I'm one of them weird dudes. And like I've had these journeys of, like I went one away getting hurt, and that's where I've always been. My grandfather was big on that. He's like, I never shoot a rabbit. My grandma, on the other hand, she blow a rabbit's head right off.
Yeah, I don't kill bugs, animals.
I mean, yeah, and with like a lot of things too is on my heart. Like when you're making, like I made amends with my grandmother before because my grandmother died 2 months after my grandfather died, and I got some guys on the 9-step right now, and I'm like, man, I made amends with my grandmother, and I never said sorry. She's in a wheelchair, and she said, I ain't gonna make it much longer, Paul. And she said, your mom's up and left the room. We need to talk. And I sat there and I talked to her, and I got up and I was walking out to the grill, and I had this hat on and loved my grandpappy, and I had to build with a big belly at that time, and started crying. She said, you look just like your grandpa. You acting like him. And she said, "You're truly happy. I don't have nothing to worry about with your drug addiction because you're truly happy. You know, you gotta keep doing what you're doing." And that was one of the greatest moments of my life, to be able to do the steps. And not to brag or nothing, but I tell people, I'm like, man, follow your heart with this because it worked for me.
Yeah, for sure.
She got some peace from that shit, man. And like, it's not, I could have went back and be like, this is all the times I wronged you, and this is the money, or this is the, tick for tat. You were wrong, I was wrong. I was like, nah, bro, this is my side of the street, and I keep it clean. And I try to thoroughly do that. My grandfather last time, it was sad because I had the same name as my grandfather, and I relapsed. So a lot of people thought I was dead. You go to the funeral and you're like, why wasn't it you? We thought it was you this time. I keep that in my pocket, I keep it, in my pocket. Not my back pocket, keep my front pocket, because sometimes you gotta be like that, man. You gotta be like, hey, some of the stuff, you go through is rough. Like, you can help somebody else so much better, You
Yeah.
you can go up there and open the doors of serenity in the rain. A bunch of people sitting up there on a Friday night, that's what I did last Friday night. Had a house and dude, I said, man, give me the car, and Dan was like, yeah, I'll drive you up here. Dan, he's super nice. He said, went up there and then got in a meeting, and people were like, hey, man, how do I get out of the halfway house? I'm like, it ain't getting out of the halfway house. It's getting out of your head. I said, sometimes you need to sit where you're at, fried chicken, and work with others until you can figure out what's next, Makes
Yeah.
sense.
It took me, honestly, like 2 years to really spiritually awake,
Mm-hmm.
There was moments, like third step was a moment, like seventh step was a moment, but like really 2 years to really become spiritually awake in my recovery. And then over time, I've really learned that, like, it's about, like, removing me from me, like, and all that stuff, all that old stuff I have on me,
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I can say that too. 'Cause I'm like 2 years with these 2 relapses, I got like a month's time out there, but in the time it takes the 2 years to develop the brain, to develop the, they told me at CSU when I went up there the last time, she said, so I done relapse, people mad at me and all that. And she said, Paul, she said, this is the folder before. He's like, you've been at Wilson County Hospital one time in a year, probably more than 100 times. Probably way more than 100 times. She said, this is your 4 years at Wilson. This is your 2 little relapses. None of the big, relapses are bad. People die, but she's like, first is this, first is that.
Yeah.
She's like, the numbers don't lie, man. She's like, you're doing something different. You're fighting a fight that you couldn't fight. I used to tell myself, man, I'm relapse every month and a half at the hospital. I relapse every 3 weeks. I relapse now. I don't relapse. But before, I had a record, And it's crazy because once you start understanding emotional growth and all these things and doing these things in the steps, it helps, I mean, recovery is recovery. Besides my stomach growling. I don't know, I ate some cereal. So, my favorite cereal is blueberry. They say that at every meeting I go to, the blueberry. Some lady brought me blueberry cereal the other day. I was like freaking out. It's on my Facebook. Love blueberry cereal. And give out a 6-month chip. They're like, it's the blueberry one. All of these things help me to progress from being what I was before, I wouldn't change nothing. I mean, things I would try to change to save people's life if I could go back in the past. But like what I've been through, what I'm going through, your future endeavors, your past endeavors, I wouldn't change much, man.
No.
I wouldn't change sleeping out front of skyscrapers. I wouldn't change sleeping. I was sleeping out there over the riverfront, man, and rode a bicycle and went filmed on Travel Channel. I'm like, they don't know I was sleeping outside last night. I did this. I wouldn't change the people I try to help, the stuff I've done. I definitely will make the amends, not to hurt people, but some of the stuff is life, man.
Yeah. I wouldn't change none of that shit. I wouldn't change none of my shit, like living homeless. Like, it definitely traumatized me. I'm never going back. Like, I'll do something illegal before I go back out there in the cold.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would not change it because it's like, it was one of the driving factors for me to, like, be willing to do that shit. Yeah.
Definitely that,
To
man.
get completely honest about my life. And
Yeah, the homelessness, man, that and the jail cells, people, I hear people say, like you said, the resident was here, he said, when I first came back, we was at that book study, Big Will said, he said, man, I was in jail and I didn't want to leave jail.
me too.
I've been there too, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I left jail one time as a trustee, and it was raining outside. I had nowhere to go. My aunt finally picked me up, and I was like, man, them was really trying their best to try to save my life too. A lot of people try to save my life, but
Until you're ready, you ain't ready.
you ain't ready, and they ain't equipped for what we are equipped for. Sometimes the change of pace is different. I never thought 45 minutes away from Lebanon would be different, or 40, an hour away from Nashville, but I'm really 30, 45 minutes from both of them. And it's different. It's like your mindset. It's your mindset, man. Like, can I have that mindset of, I said last night at the book study, I go on Amazon and look at everything and make a list and delete it.
Yeah.
Can I have that mindset every day? Yeah. Can I go to the thrift shop and look at everything at the thrift shop? Like, I got everything I need at Richardson. There is no more pictures to be hung.
I'm a window shopper too.
Yeah, window shopper.
I'll fill the whole cart up, walk out.
Yeah. I'm not that bad. I'll fill it up and start putting it back. And they're like,
Yeah.
Then I start like organizing their stuff, and they're like, he must have did some retail at one time.
I'll do this other thing where I'll go to like a place, like a retail store, and then I'll tell them, hey, I'm not buying it here, dude. It's not happening. Like, you could try to sell it to me all you want, but I'm just here to talk to you about the product.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy it somewhere. I'm cheap.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not buying it retail, dude.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I want to talk about it.
Yeah. I want to try that up a little bit, I'm going to look at this and see what I think about it, How am I going to divide this?
Sometimes I just want to look at it, and then I decide, it ain't for me, man.
Yeah.
I've looked at a gold chain. Like, the gold chain I have is fake or whatever.
Yeah.
It's plated or whatever.
Yeah, that's how myself is.
Amazon. Yeah, but like, I've been to the pawn shop.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 times, maybe 6, 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
Just like look at it, examine it. I just can't do it. I can't pull the trigger.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's the same effect with me. I'm like, bro, I've been wearing this. I bought all this stuff off Temu about a year ago, and it's still brand new in the back of my car. And I'm like, they're like, bro, your car full of brand new shoes. I'm like, I ain't gonna wear them anytime soon. I'm wearing my slips from work today. I'm like, my back hurting or whatever. And that's the same effect, man. What I need is what I need for my recovery. If I start using that human instinct to drive to go do this and do that, then guess what happens? Oh, y'all buy all this stuff, and guess what? Next thing you know, I'm doing, I'm riding the back of the hood and running around there. I'm in the middle of some country town, and what happens there? You're walking down the street and you find a miracle pack. There ain't no miracle pack, my man.
Miracle pack.
That's a miracle pack I found, right? You're overdosing back there. Yeah.
And they arrest you.
Huh?
And then they arrest you.
Oh, bro, it took them forever to get me in the car. I was dressed like a lumberjack in the summertime. Like, bro. They're like, yeah, it was wild, man. I went, I'd say a lot of the stuff that I've seen, I could definitely say is things that I couldn't explain. Not to be like one of the paranoid investigational people, or I'm not ever like that. But
There's some stuff I had to let go.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know if this is real or not.
But I gotta go. Let it go. Like, it's gotta, it's gotta fly that way.
Yeah.
Like, I can watch some videos in the back in the day that would terrify me for 6 months, and now I'm like, that's fake as crap. Oh, cool. I can sit there and watch this. Tell my sponsees, I'm like, you want to get over paranoia? Just watch some paranoid videos of some ghosts or something. Eventually, you're gonna be like, it's just a bunch of crock, bro. It's up here. What's real right now? What can you go to McDonald's and buy a fucking sandwich? Or you can sit here and dream about McNuggets chasing you down the street. What you want to do? He's like, I'm going to go get a McChicken, bro. I'm like, you getting there. You're halfway there, man. Yeah. Big Mac will save your life.
It will.
Yeah. No Big Mac will save anybody's life.
I do have to say, like, I'm very, like, I could see that you're committed to your recovery. And I've, like, always, like, been astounded by that. And people in recovery are in and out. Like, there's a lot, there's a lot of serious people, but it's very rare that you see somebody like walk into meetings. Like, my first year, I didn't have a car, and like, I got there and did what I needed to do. And like, that's how you are. And I see you like chairing the meeting. I see you secretarying the meeting. I see you at the home group, like those things like are, I'm going to say one off, but they're rare, like, and if you continue to do that stuff, as long as you don't like, I think for me, it's like, I think the number's 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like a long time, but for me, like, I have a friend that's in my life, and her and her husband, like what we were talking about the other day, like out of all the people that I got sober with, like we're the only few left, like, and we're also the only people that still go there, still do what we're supposed to do, like, But for 5 years, man, I was just like heavily ingrained, like at the home group, at district level. Like, I mean, I was there, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like completely on the gas. I mean, at 5 years, I had to look up and really figure out who Matt was.
yeah.
But that's what I had to do, you know? Like, people usually try to jump too soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that too, man. Because when I had that first relapse, I was sober, man, for like 4 months. I had one Buddhist woman at one job and another Buddhist woman at another job I was working at, and they were like keeping me on fundamental basis. And I started working with a guy. I can't say it was that. And a lot of things, emotions came back, and I relapsed again. And that second relapse was like, man, whoa.
Well, you were also like, when you're at Threshold?
This was after Threshold.
Well, the first relapse, I mean, you can identify more than me, but from the outside looking in, it looks like you were trying to work your way out of your addiction.
Yeah, that's what Crack said to her. Scott, he said, because he offered me a house manager before, and I kept saying no, and he was like, man, you work too much, bro. You work too much.
Yeah.
You can't leave your brother here and go to another house to live. He's like, you working too much. And I was working the meth out of me, man. I was working the meth, the psychosis from all the designer stuff I was doing. One of my cousins said one time, she said, you know about drugs ain't even came out, Paul. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, bro, you ain't gonna scare me at the gas station. They like, you want that? I'm like, bro, that is 7 years ago for this dude. This ain't nothing. I go down to JD's. I'm like, yeah, what y'all got? Yeah, that ain't nothing, bro. Come on with it. I go look at the back of the identifiers, and they're like, oh, this dude knows this stuff. I'm like, yeah, quit selling my guys this stuff. Come on, man. I'm trying to save a life here. Yeah, and I was working a lot, man. And then the second time, it was a lot of heartache.
Yeah.
Emotions came up, and then I can identify that now and help somebody else, And I ain't proud of, I don't rest on no laurels, man. And when I get resentments, I deal with it, you know what I'm saying? I've been homeless, man. The first sponsor I had me do a whole bunch of resentments. And I'm like, bro, I'm not resenting these things. Like, the second time I did we did the step, and I said, man, this is what this is. We got to deal with this right now and take care of the business, And young people say, I don't know all these slangs they say, They told me at Richardson, they said, house manager, stand on business. I'm like, I don't understand none of that.
Type shit.
Yeah, that type shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, type shit, like, you standing on business, house manager? I'm like, do what? Please, again? Like, I never heard that in an Aussie song.
I think one of the biggest things for me in my recovery is understanding that the first year I thought that I was like different.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
And I was different with my spiritual. I had found God in my life. But the thing is like the longer I've stayed sober, the longer that I've realized that like I'm still the same person. Like it took me to like maybe year 2 where I was like, no, I'm still like I still maybe 18 months where I had to like I'm still that person. Like I still have to uncover and discard these things that are within me to get rid of, like to become better. Because now at like 10 or 11 years, I can't think, oh, I'm just this whole other creature, because I am that same person. I'm the same person that's done those types of behaviors in my past. Like, and if I think that I'm this changed individual, then I'll never look at that stuff,
Yeah, that's the same thing I said the first rehab I was at. I was like, you got to take the good with the bad. And the counselor actually looked at me. We were all sitting there in the room with people. We were all grieving and stuff, And I was like, you got to take the good with the bad. And write on this piece of paper and throw in the trash can. I knew nothing of the steps then, you know what I'm saying? I was bewildered, And now with the progression of like from there to now, from 2017 or whatever that was to now, time goes so quick, It's little moments you got. I always tell people when they get a coin, they say, man, it's a great achievement. I always pride myself like about every moment that you survive this, man. That guy with that 24 hours can teach a man a lot, It's the moments that I take I don't ever take my moment for granted, you know what I'm saying? I try to wake up with the best time of the best part of life is, life is.
Yeah.
And it keep my sobriety there. I can't forget the past or not recollect on it, but I can't live in them behaviors. I think we had a behavior meeting last night or something like that. What was it?
Habits.
Habits, yeah. Habits. Yeah.
What do you think about your being adoption? What's that
The
word?
adoption process?
Being a what is the word?
Like for adopted kid?
Yeah.
Well, like when you're in adoption, you go like, you got a DCS manager.
Being a orphan? orphan.
Yeah, like an orphan. Like with the foster care system, like, yeah, my brothers got to stay with my mother, and that was crazy.
Yeah, like why do they not know where you were?
It was like a lot of it was, that was where a lot of resentment came in towards the family. Like, bro, y'all didn't know I was out there, bro. Y'all didn't know nothing about me, bro.
It's like Joe Dirt.
Like, it was some real Joe Dirt stuff. Now that I got a mullet, it's really funny. Thank you. It's actually really cute.
That's why they named you None Maker.
It made me money maker. They didn't call me money maker for nothing. But yeah, that process was heartbreaking, man. You seen a lot of horrible stuff. You seen a lot of bad stuff.
In the foster care system?
Oh, dude, freaking
In
horrors.
the houses or in the centers?
I never went to the centers. They sent me to group homes, and they sent me to foster families and trauma. I mean, trauma there. I mean, I've been
in the foster families.
Yes. I was really weird about Christianity because some of the Christian families I were with were really like way out there, and they weren't just from the South. They're like from California too and stuff. And I was really weary about Christianity. Like, I had this grounds of like, nah, man, this is what that is, and this is what it does to people. And then now, like, when I went to jail, I read the Bible, and I started reading the Jehovah's Witness Bible, and I started reading it. I read the Old Testament because it was fire and brimstone. I was like, oh, this stuff was actually really hard, like, oh, wow. I'm like, that's some really crazy stuff. Like, wow, well, let me read this. And then,
Yeah, it gets wild in the Old Testament.
Bro, I'm talking about, like, yeah, I don't want your wife. I want you, my dog. I'm like, whoa, what? I'm like, did I just read this or I'm hallucinating? They're like, you read it, Paul. I'm like, all right. And then when I started, studying Christianity and Paul and, Barnabas and then, with Jesus Christ and what he was trying to build, you know what I'm saying? Like, they say from 18 to 30 is gone, like, and so I'll be optimistic, I can sit here and I would never think, I'd be like, man, there's something to this, there might be something to that, and just sit and devour books. My car full of religious books to my degree, I keep Marcus Aurelius' writings because that's what Kennedy said. He said, if you're becoming a man, you need to read Marcus Aurelius. He said, Marcus Aurelius will change your life. You read Marcus Aurelius. He said, don't get nothing tampered. You get Marcus Aurelius. So, and that type of thing, that keeps me where I'm grounded, If I can't have us, some of my sponsors, I got one, he believed in the fabric of life. We sat down, I was like, what do you believe in? I'm like, you got your other sponsor brother believe this and that. He's like, the fabric of life, man. The family can't say they're like agnostics. Can't say it ain't there. I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I cried one time. Had a girl was at the tent and she was kind of like slower and it was Nashville and she just was on the arm. I'm like, I don't know you. She's like, bro, I'm out here. And, when the girl was giving away her money, she was getting to country music singers. And one time I had to take her to the hospital. I said, me and Steve's into it, man. I got to take you to the hospital. You can't live here. It's dangerous. You know what I'm saying? We're outside, north side of Nashville. It's bad. And I took her to the hospital and I left her there and I was like, man, I tried to take her, here and there. I ended up taking her to the west side and took her to the hospital and I left and I was walking back to the mission, man. It was raining. And all the people were walking, you know what I'm saying? And I was wearing like shorts and a freaking t-shirt, man. And it started raining real bad and I said, man, if I need to go back, God, give me a sign. And it rained so cold, I fell to my legs. I fell down. I raced the window, and people were walking with a raincoats, you know what I'm saying? They're just walking in the city. And I wasn't going to live at the mission. I was just walking toward the mission to get something to eat. I'm hungry. I don't feel like dealing in the dumpster. I don't feel like even walking to somewhere to go inside and eat. I'm heartbroken. And it rained so cold, I fell to my knees. I seen her later downtown Nashville, and she was like, hey, man. I was like, nah, man, I can't, yeah. I was, smoking a cigarette, and then, my eyes went like, whoa, like, I said, God, give me a sign, and I fell, bro. And I was like, man, it's so cold, ice cold, and it hurt so bad. Went back to my tent, cried about that, and then I got back up the next day and went back, scooting around, being part of that, part of society, that part of, integrate, definitely a classification, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it was one of the groundbreaking points. I could say like there is a God or something, or we all did, psychedelics and stuff and methamphetamines. It's the government, but I don't think the government had that much time to be wasting on one little dude.
Yeah,
that's a reincarnation of them. And that's a whole nother ball game. I don't even get into that. I used to, one of those dudes, it's like, oh, it's all this, and this, and this. And then, I told a dude the other day, Richardson, he was talking. I said, man, I said, in a year, he said, what happened in a year? I said, all that crazy shit you're talking about right now, it's a past of your mind, bro. Like, those memories you're like clinging to, they're gone, bro. He's like, what you mean? I'm like, whole different ball game, man. Like, all of that wildness and all this hallucination and all this you did and all that, like, it don't bother me, bro. I get surveys on my job all day giving away brownies. That's what I do, all day long. They're like, this man got 23 brownies a day. The corporate called it, said he got 4 brownies and he's on worker comp. I'm like, man, this is me, man. Again, I sit there and go through it. I'm like in a lot of pain. Right now, they got me on some steroids because my back got injured. But I sit there at the register and I give out these surveys and people get a brownie. And I did that one time. I was at Ganga's Grill and they were giving out candy and I was giving out candy and chopsticks. And I always remember that. I was like, man, this is one of the best moments of Paul's life. He's sitting outside this Mongolian buffet, passing out chopsticks and candy. And the director of operations was like, hey, get some pictures of the kids. And I was like, hell nah, my man. Nah, bro. You going too far. He's like, no, it's for the Facebook page. I'm like, you got to get a camera. You need one like these. But them are one of the greatest moments, you know what I'm saying, man? A dude can sit there and give away brownies. A dude can do these simple little things instead of, I can terrorize and go ham and ballistic because, something happened to my brother in the town and I can't comprehend it. And I got all this ample amounts of this, If, they say, I know there's a lot of complex and, if there's a other reality, what's the other Paul doing? What's that Paul doing? I'm like, this Paul's lived a life. Some of it went the best, but it's probably the best life we're living now. I always say that. When I first got sober, I said, I said, when you get a year of sobriety, you can always say, man, I had a year of sobriety, however good or bad it was, you got a year of your life that you dedicated to it.